right, so Charlie, from where you sit in the world of communications and technology, what trends are you seeing? What's really, actually, you know what, let's rewind. Tell me, just give me 60 seconds on how you built your company and exactly the pieces that you've put together.
Well, I will tell you, I mean, you know, the panel that you had here was interesting this morning. Several of them we interface with a lot. And you know, I think what's interesting over the last 2 decades is just, you know, what's happened in this industry. And Genband's an interesting story because, you know, the company was started in 1999. We participated in the dot-com bust, and we were one of the very few companies that actually survived. And I think the company survived because, you know, we had a long-term vision. We had very committed investors into the business that we felt like, you know, over, you know, the 2000 period, that we had a unique opportunity to consolidate what we felt like was a market that was going to endure a lot of change. And you know, if you kind of look at what we've done, it's amazing. We were a one-product company, you know, in 2004 that had no revenue and 80 people, and we found a unique opportunity for us to accelerate our organic and inorganic development on a lot of today's technology that's being deployed by taking advantage of a period of time where a lot of small companies, you know, frankly couldn't break through that, you know, $30–40 million glass ceiling, had great technology that fit really well into what, you know, Genband's vision was. We were able to assemble a lot of this technology, and now, in fact, on February the 12th, you know, we're reinventing ourselves again, and we're launching a whole new campaign around making networks smarter. And I think that what you're seeing in the industry, from, you know, the smartphones and the smart devices to what IT managers are having to do with enterprise is really reinvent themselves to take advantage of all the technology that's available. So it's been a humbling, you know, 8 years.
And can you give us a list of some of the companies that you've acquired and you've added to?
Yeah, so you know, I mean, if you go back to the 2000 era, voice over IP was really where the industry was headed. I mean, you know, it's not too long ago that, you know, voice was actually an application that everybody got excited about, and, you know, today it's all about video and how to interact with voice and video and data, and UC is becoming something that needs to be implemented and needs to be simplified, and I'm happy to talk a little bit about how we plan on doing that. But you know, we acquired, you know, our first transformational acquisition was actually buying the voice over IP division from Tekelec. Following that, we saw you know, I saw a ton of sessions that you have here this week around SIP trunking. So, you know, here we are in 2013, and you guys are talking about SIP trunking, which is really derived from, you know, SBC technology, session border control technology, and we actually saw that wave, you know, really in 2006, 2007. And in 2008, we acquired a company called Nextone Networks, which was, along with Acme Packet, was one of the early adopters of that technology. And over the last 4 years, we've really incubated that technology, and it's a big part of our product portfolio going forward. So that was a very strategic acquisition that we made. And then, you know, probably the most transformational acquisition that we made, the most courageous acquisition that we ever made was actually buying the voice over IP assets out of bankruptcy from Nortel. So, you know, most of us know what happened with Nortel, but you know, I could write a book on that whole phase and what happened. But while Avaya acquired the sort of enterprise voice over IP asset, Genband bought the service provider focused voice over IP asset. So we've taken a lot of the voice over IP technology, we've taken a lot of the new SIP-based technology, and you know, we feel like, you know, it was interesting to hear the panel that you had this morning, because Genband, we feel like, is on the leading edge of RTC, WebRTC, and rich communication services and HTML5, and it's a big part of our sort of next phase. And how do you take all this infrastructure and deliver, you know, very exciting services that can be delivered, you know, from the new service provider, the traditional service provider, and the new cloud service provider. So we've got, I think, an exciting portfolio that's going to allow us to compete very uniquely going forward.
So tell us, we've got this audience in the room that's interested in hearing from your perspective, or your perspective on 2013 in the future. What should they know about? What sorts of technology should they be aware of? What things should they be aware of regarding customers, what's happening globally, those kinds of things?
You know, I think we're in what I would call an exciting, chaotic period of time. And what I mean by that is that, you know, it's a great time to be a consumer, but it's not an exciting time necessarily to be a CIO or an IT manager or a service provider, because you're having to rethink how you're going to compete in what feels like a very chaotic marketplace where, you know, you've had the invention and the introduction of smartphones that have become what we believe to be the ultimate mobile office of the future. I mean, you know, 2.5 years ago, I sat down with, you know, our board and our investors, and I said, you know, in 2014, nobody's going to have a fixed phone on their desk. They're going to take an enlarged version of the smartphone, and they're going to have a docking station on their desk, and it's going to be their everything from, you know, what they use, you know, day to day in the office. It's going to be their video collaboration device. It's going to be their web browser. You know, I heard somebody on your panel this morning talk about the fact that we've gone back to the 3270 days of connecting everything to a fixed, you know, data center, and that's the exciting part, you know, frankly, about having a device where you can leverage, you know, all the information that is secured in a data center in the cloud. And ultimately, I think that, you know, those companies that can figure out, you know, how to deliver a simplified, unified communications offering on smart devices to where consumers and businesses can actually create the ultimate mobile office are going to be the winners. And so that means that there's a lot of transport that needs to continue to advance. There's broadband access is going to continue to be critical, and I think the carriers, you know, don't get enough credit for what they're doing to provide broadband access that's allowing for all these new applications and devices to actually, you know, change the way we live today. But I think there's an endless amount of opportunity for small companies to take advantage of the bandwidth that is going to be available and the platforms that are going to be available. So I think that, you know, when I talk a lot about today that I think the consumer market is going to level out. I mean, consumers now feel like, okay, I got this smart device, and you know, I might get a different version of that smart device, but I'm now living in this new world of being able to take advantage of all these cool things, all these cool new applications. To me, I think the next 5 years, the next 5 to 7 years is really going to be about business and enterprise. How are we going to create that same kind of excitement and change and usability in the enterprise world, in the business world? Because they haven't seen the same level of change. While the technology is available, you know, depending on what size business you are, the rate at which you can change and adapt to all this new technology takes a lot of time, money, and, you know, if you think about all the IT challenges that go along with implementing just a new smartphone or a new smart device, it's very challenging. And so I feel like we're putting a lot of our emphasis right now on how do we help CIOs and IT managers change the dynamics of their enterprise and their business, because that I see as the single biggest opportunity for companies like us, where the consumer is going to benefit because they can adapt to change instantaneously. I mean, you know, if you want to take advantage of all the new technology, all you got to do is go out and buy a smartphone, connect it up to, you know, your favorite service provider, and you can take advantage of all the neat things that are available. And you don't need an IT director to tell you, you know, what you have to do and how you need to do it and what process and what security needs to be implemented. But if you're, you know, a small business or a large business, there's real process, and it's a different implementation.
So Peter Bernstein mentioned that he's going to be on this panel right after us about the future of carriers and whether they're going to be dumb pipes or they're going to, you know, they're going to be intelligent. What value are they going to add? mean, we just sat here in a session prior to this one discussing WebRTC and how WebRTC is going to change the way communications works, like classified ads. It's going to go away, I mean, implying that traditional communications carriers are going to go away. And then Larry told us that most of the carriers that he's consulting with don't even talk about it and not even aware of it. And we didn't really mention...
Which is not true, by the way.
The ones he's talking to anyway,
Okay.
right? So I'm sure some are,
Yeah.
but even more complex for a carrier is social. How are they going to deal with social and WebRTC enabling all Facebook users to instantaneously be able to communicate without needing a phone number, without needing anything from the carriers? How are carriers going to deal with this future world? But more importantly, what are you providing them to deal with this new world?
Well, I mean, I've spent my whole life, in the carrier world, and so I'm a little biased, to the success of the service provider, and I don't think the service providers are going away. I mean, at the end of the day, they still own access, and as long as you own the access, whether it's spectrum, or it's broadband to your home or business, they're not going away. Now, their business may change. And I think the biggest challenge that service providers have today, especially the big ones, is who do they really want to be? We have this debate all the time because, while we're starting to spend more and more time introducing our technology that we've made available to the carriers now to the enterprise, we spent most of our time, trying to dynamically change the landscape for service providers. And, if I were a service provider today, looking at how fast the landscape is changing and the fact that, change is not, something that the large carriers can frankly adapt to. And that is their single biggest disadvantage, is they just can't change as fast as the market wants to change and as fast as, the new innovation that is taking advantage of broadband access is enabling. And so I think that there's a real challenging debate within the small carrier to the large carrier as to, do we want to just provide bandwidth? Do we want to provide smart bandwidth? Or do we actually want to be a content provider? And so, you've got content providers that are going to, I think over the next 5 years, you're going to have a whole slew of new content providers that are going to take advantage of the cloud. And you and I can start a company tomorrow, and we can provide a whole host of services by just partnering with the data center, with just partnering with the cloud data center. And you're going to see, a big announcement that Genband's going to make with the largest mobile handset manufacturer in the world in the next couple of weeks, where we're doing just that. And so I believe that you've got, these cloud providers that, by the way, are traditional service providers, but it's also new data centers. You've got the traditional service providers who are trying to decide, what kind of content they want to provide and to whom, and how can they monetize that, and how can that be a business 10 years from now, because they can't adapt to the industry continuing to change every 24 months. It's not a good business model for the service provider. Frankly, the large enterprise can't afford to adapt to that much change. I mean, it's just so the consumer's benefiting, but business and enterprise and the carriers, I think, have the single biggest challenge right now, and that's where we've been scratching our head trying to figure out, how do we help the carriers,
People come to trade shows quite often to learn about opportunities, and I'm curious, and obviously there are a lot of different people at the show, from carriers to enterprise to resellers and others, entrepreneurs. Are there any other opportunities? You mentioned some cloud and some others. Anything else that people should be aware of, whether it's geographic opportunities or technology or business opportunities?
Well, I do believe that the cloud is going to be the next wave for the next 10 years. I mean, I really do believe that, the sooner that you really grasp the power of what cloud services means. I mean, what it means is, for the average business, the cloud allows you to completely de-risk your deployment strategy. So today, if you want to launch a new service, I mean, it's a very sophisticated value chain that goes into the decision makings, the CapEx decisions, where what the cloud is really enabling, depending on what content provider you're partnering with, is you're allowing your business to take advantage of all these new services without taking on the risk. Because, like, for example, I mean, Genband is launching a new cloud offering, and you'll be able to launch a unified communication service with just one seat. So you can't do that today. I mean, because to launch a new service means that you're taking on a whole new set of risk and CapEx and business challenges. And so I think that if businesses can begin to think about how do I take advantage of the cloud, and that it really helps me de-risk my business plan and allows me to take advantage of all these new services that I wouldn't otherwise probably be able to take advantage for years, that's the power of the cloud. And so there's a lot of innovation that I think is going to go into that. There's a lot of entrepreneurs that are going to figure out how do I take advantage of these new cloud offerings to really help change and enable a very stagnant enterprise business climate today.
And that's really interesting. It kind of plays on what we talked about earlier, which is BYOD and BYOA, and that is that you can very easily disrupt an entrenched market by going after, let's say, a slice of technology where the traditional enterprise buyer would have to, let's say, purchase 1,000 licenses.
That's right.
and spend millions of dollars, and instead, and this is happening right now, but it's going to happen more so, instead you can offer that as a free application, and maybe you could say for business use you charge for it, or if you get to a certain size of database or something like that, you charge for it. And the point is that the freemium model, which is you give it away for free and then you have a premium pricing, is going to be the future of
Or you have an
service.
advertising model that's able to subsidize that. And that's something that I know a lot of service providers right now are trying to figure out how to participate in. I mean, it's hard not to be jealous of, the way the Google model and the Facebook model are running their businesses. I met with Facebook not too long ago, and I said, you guys could, you've got such a loyal, consumer base today, that is there ever a day where you're going to start charging, for access? I mean, you could charge $2, $3 a subscriber, you probably wouldn't lose too many people. And their philosophy is very different in that they don't ever want to get to a point where, their services are services that they'll ever have to charge for. And that's because they've got this, to your point, this advertising model that's working really well. And I think the service providers would love to figure out, how do they participate in that? And the only way they're going to be able to participate in that is if they can really accelerate, the new way of delivering content, and to your point, really be able to adopt this freemium model, which really isn't there yet. I mean, I know we talk a lot about it, but from the service provider perspective, I mean, the freemium model, isn't quite there yet. But I think that there's the opportunity for a new business model and a whole host of new business models for the carriers as well as for enterprise is something that companies like us are spending a lot of time thinking about, because I think they do have to figure out how to introduce new business models in order for them to participate in this new world.
Any things surprise you in your career that you'd like to share with us? Made you laugh, surprise you?
Well, I mean, I would say that, this decade's been, this next decade's going to be really exciting. I mean, the last decade has been humbling. I mean, to say the least. I mean, to your point, I mean, you've got, everyone is somewhat connected to technology that follows ITExpo and TMC, but it's been a humbling 10 years. I think that really over the last couple years, and I think looking out into the next 10 years, it feels very innovative. It feels like there's a lot of opportunity, and it feels like there's a lot of hope, because broadband is really here. And we don't talk enough about the power of broadband access anymore, because we've been talking about it for 10 years and how important transport and broadband access was. But it really truly has changed the landscape, because not a whole lot of the applications that are being delivered today would be delivered if it wasn't for broadband access, whether it's to your home office or to a mobile device. I mean, just think about it. Think about it, the fact that if we were still on 2G, we wouldn't be up here on stage. We wouldn't be talking about this. So the fact that broadband access is here and it's accelerating the way we're able to think about innovation, I think is exciting, and I think that it's going to create a lot of opportunities for a lot of innovative people. It also is going to be a head scratcher for a lot of CIOs and IT managers, because you're going to have employees who want to take advantage. I mean, I was the first one who said I had to have an iPhone 3 years ago or whatever it was, 4 years ago, and my IT manager said, we can't do that because we use Dell, and that's going to cause a problem. I said, well, I need an Apple, and I need and now half of the company has a smartphone and a smart device. And by the way, we used to be a one device kind of company. Now we support 7 different kinds of devices, and I think that's that's got to be the biggest challenge that most of your IT guys struggle with right now, is supporting all these different devices. That is coming fast and furious.
What's your carriers be doing to get ready for the future?
I think they have to make a decision as to who they want to be. I really do. I think that the sooner, and I think to a certain degree they are. I don't know that they've come out and the service providers who have traditionally been providing. I mean, think about it. You said it earlier on this panel. I mean, we've always gotten everything from the service provider, right? But Netflix changed everything. I mean, we talked about video streaming, 10 years ago, but we didn't really compute. And, to think about what Netflix has done for video streaming and taking advantage of broadband access that's there. I think I read something that, 50% of the U.S. households are subscribers to Netflix. I mean, it's just amazing. And there's no reason why it's not going to be 100. And so I think that there's a lot of, content like that is going to take advantage of this broadband pipe that is being provided to the home, business, or mobile devices. And so I think the sooner that the carriers figure out where they can compete, how they can monetize their business, the more successful they're going to be. And I think that some are making that, and others are struggling because they've historically been able to provide, the consumer with hosted services and enterprise with hosted services. And, you've got new ways of communicating that are coming from 10 different directions that can be launched, just like that. And that's the part that's really hard. Now, I do believe that securing all this is where, most people, begin to have, like, when the cloud really started to gain some momentum, we first and foremost spent a ton of time thinking about, how are we going to convince the average consumer and the average business owner and CIO that whatever they put in the cloud, whatever they put somewhere else that's not in their data center, that they're not looking at every day, that they're not compartmentalizing, that is going to be safe and secure. And I think it's beginning to get solved. And as that really becomes something that consumer and businesses get really comfortable with, and I think it's going to happen here over the next 24 months, I think the cloud's going to explode because of all the reasons why I stated earlier, because you can take advantage of new technology almost at the rate at which a consumer can take advantage of a new application, where businesses can't today take advantage. You think about how long it takes for you as an employee at a company to be able to take advantage of a new application that has been out for 2 years. And that's because there's process, there's security, there's all kinds of things that go into how that gets deployed. And I think that the cloud is going to help reshape that. And it's going to, my CIO, we have 1,600 employees, so we're still pretty small. But, he's giddy about what the possibilities are with the cloud. And you look at companies like Workday and Salesforce and all these companies that have been using real applications, and I think the comment that was made up here earlier about whether or not consumers and businesses view applications as a tool or an interface was a really good comment, because there are true applications that are true interactive tools versus just a web screen that provides an interface to a web portal.
So many companies would be envious of how many employees you have, but in the market that you compete in, there are companies that have tens of thousands of employees. And I'm wondering, competitively, Is it good to be smaller and more agile? I mean, what are some of the pros and cons?
Listen, I mean, you know, if you were inside of Genband, you'd hear me make this comment all the time. You know, we have mastered the ability to do more with less, and I'm convinced that, and I can prove it to anybody in this room, that you can do more with less, and because you are more agile and you have less decision makers. The decision cycle shrinks. You'd be shocked. I mean, every time I say that we're gonna do this with half the amount of people, we actually do it with half the amount of people. We spend less money. We're more efficient. We get it done faster. And there is a law of physics that says, you know, hey, I can't go install, you know, this much equipment to these many customers in this amount of time without, you know, an organization that allows me to do a lot of the blocking and tackling. But I do think that technology has proven over the last decade, and it's only getting better, that as a company from finance to IT to legal, that we can be a lot more efficient with the technology and the tools that are available, and it's really taking advantage and learning those tools that are allowing, you know, companies to be a lot more efficient. So it doesn't necessarily help the unemployment rate, because that is an alarming factor, that technology is really putting a lot of people out of work, and that's concerning. And so I think, you know, what companies like us are trying to do is find lots of new innovative ways to bring those people back into the workplace and find a place for them.
Fantastic. So going forward, we talked a little bit about the future, and you think things are going to be bright and cloud is going to be a hot area. We didn't really talk very much about wireless, and I'm just curious if we could touch on that. We've got less than 2 minutes. What are your thoughts about where that's going?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, I mean, I'm convinced that, you know, there's an opportunity to create the ultimate mobile office. And I personally believe that wireless has already, and it's going to continue to change the dynamics and the landscape, whether you're, you know, a consumer, you know, whether you're at home or the office. I think that, you know, wireless is going to continue to revolutionize the industry. I'm still a big believer that, you know, the home especially, because of all the bandwidth requirements and the content requirements, is still going to require some fixed access in the sense of broadband access. So I'm still a believer that, you know, you're not going to be able to replace, you know, 100 gig in the home with, you know, a wireless connectivity. And maybe in some places where you live, the only way that you can get services. But I do believe that, you know, 5 years from now, many businesses will not have many fixed elements to it, other than, you know, big data pipes that are doing a lot of the trunking and transport. But I believe that there is a great opportunity for companies to take advantage of what we believe to be a mobile office of the future.
Fantastic. So our next panel is going to be on the future of service providers, whether they're going to be dumb pipes or something more. And I think this was an amazing setup for that panel, and it fit really well into the earlier panel we had today about the age of acceleration. So with that, if you could join me in giving Charlie a hand. Thanks, Charlie, for being here.